What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 113.
113.
On this Monday, September 23rd, 2024. It is a game Monday. Josh Callaway, James D. Jackson, Tom Green. Oh, the offense was very ugly on Saturday. The Sooners lost to Tennessee. They made a quarterback change. Defense tried to keep them in it. We're going to break it all down. It's a game breakdown Monday. It's what we do. We'll try and decipher everything that happened as best we can. Tennessee beat Oklahoma on Saturday. So, guys, we'll jump right into it. No reason to beat around the bush. The offense was terrible. That was the concern coming in. We did the game preview, and, James and I gave Oklahoma a little more of the benefit of the doubt that getting Branson Hickman back, getting Nick Anderson back, who played, I think, 7 snaps, Tom, before he restrained that quad, was going to make a big difference. It didn't. It didn't make a difference at all. Jackson Arnold was awful. The offense stunk it up. Defense, everything they could to keep him in it, but it was really bad. That's the headline. Obviously, guys, we'll get into the quarterback stuff at length, in a minute. I'm certain you can touch on it as well right here. But in general, the offense is just really bad. It has a lot of issues right now that go well beyond the quarterback. Where do you even go from here? It was a disaster on Saturday. I don't think there's really a hyperbolic term enough that you could put it in. It was really, really bad.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of symbolically fitting after the game. I don't know if you saw our friend Jesse Crittenden. There was a skunk.
Yeah, what the heck? Where'd that come from?
Pretty telling of just the night overall for Oklahoma's offense, because it was bad. The Jackson Arnold of it all kind of looms over everything, and we'll get into the quarterback situation like you said. But I don't know what they had in mind from a game plan perspective. The offensive line was awful. Getting Branson Hickman back was not beneficial, really. I think the first snap at the game was errant, and then
let's snap the ball on target, buddy. The first one to Michael Hawkins was terrible too.
Yeah. The first snap of the game was errant. That kind of led to a miscommunication, and they got stuck behind the chains again. The weird part is that through the first 3 games, there was the tackles that were kind of the bright spots on the line, and Jacob Sexton and Michael Tarquin were not great in this one. They each gave up 5 pressures. Oklahoma's offensive line as a total gave up 17 pressures, which was, I think, the 3rd most among FBS offensive lines this week.
That is a lot.
They had the 6th worst offensive line pass blocking efficiency rating in college football. 4th worst among Power 5 teams. The only ones that were worse were Cal, UCLA, and Northwestern, and they have their own issues up front. But I think it begins with the offensive line, because they weren't really able to move the ball effectively. Their best success, particularly in the run game, was when they ran it to the perimeter. I think they had 47 yards on 4 runs to either the left side of the field or the right side of the field, including a couple of jet sweeps. You know how many yards Oklahoma finished with rushing in this game?
Yeah, we talked about it.
36.
We talked.
They lost 9 yards on every other rushing attempt.
It's crazy.
What gives you the confidence that you can run up the middle on that Tennessee defensive front, which might be one of the best in college football this season? We'll see. But clearly it wasn't working. And when you do get something working on the perimeter, what we saw, 1, maybe 2 drives, they went away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get what they were trying to do offensively, and that's even without getting into the Jackson Arnold stuff.
We talked about it, man. The scheme itself seems like inside zones, like the only run that they have. Josh and I have been over this many times. It's it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. 36 rushing yards. Now, you knew coming into this game that Tennessee's defensive tackles were probably the best position group on their team, because it's been said by so many different people. And if the average Joes can see it, the guys are just watching the games, you think the coaches would see it as well. So trying to run into that, it didn't really make much sense. That was a lot of the struggles too. Trying to do that. You got Branson Hickman back, so maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe he can get a push, but it's still it's that you got to respect that type of talent they have there. So just like you didn't do it. I don't know.
Offensive line stunk it up. They had 4 starters going in this game, and it didn't matter. And they played all 5 guys every snap. That was very
First time all season.
yeah.
that's
it
the
felt
first
like
time.
it during the game. You know, I was like, did they ever make a sub? And Tom always does a great job getting the snap count, stuff like that on Sunday mornings, and I went to that right away. Yep, all 73 snaps was the same 5. So you had a whole game to try and get some kind of rhythm. I know it takes more than a game to try and build up that chemistry, but this was your best shot to be better, and it was not. They can't run the ball. It's insane how inept the rush attack is for all the reasons you just said. I mean, 1.1 yards per carry, 36 yards rushing. Can't get just a lick of push.
Worst rushing performance since the Notre Dame game in 2012 when that Notre Dame team went on to play the national title game.
It's crazy.
Couldn't get anything going.
The wide receiver room is just a graveyard. Nick Anderson played 7 snaps and restrained his quad. Who knows how long he'll be out. Deion Burks got hurt in this game as well. Brent Venables said it was a soft tissue issue. He took a hit like kind of in the back and like late in the first quarter, and he kind of came off uncomfortable. So they're missing their top 5 receivers now. It just keeps getting worse. The tight ends, I mean, Bauer Sharp is useful in the pass game. I mean, as in he can catch passes. The rest of his game is not there. Jake Roberts is kind of the exact opposite. It's like if you put them together, they're a great tight end, but they need to the tight end room is underwhelming again. It's not what Oklahoma hoped it was going to be coming in. The running backs, I mean, again, there's no rushing game, so it's hard to assess. Gavin Sawyer ghost. What's that?
And they lost Taylor Tatum in this game.
As if they needed another blow there offensively. It was awful. The play calling was awful. It's insane. And then Jackson Arnold was terrible. And look, we've come on this show and we've talked about Jackson a lot. He's been, under a lot of fire from the start. And I've largely not defended him. I've said many times he needs to play better and he's not playing well. But the offense issues go far beyond the quarterback to the point where I never thought a quarterback change was going to really change anything. You had to make the move in this game. Jackson Arnold looked just lost. Deer in headlights. His confidence is completely gone. The interception was awful. The 2 fumbles are completely inexcusable after literally one play after the defense got you turnover on the plus side of the field, one time inside the 5. They go to Michael Hawkins. It looked a little better. We'll talk about Hawkins and I guess the decision ahead, although it doesn't really feel like there's much of one going into Auburn. But Jackson Arnold was horrendous. I mean, it was hard to believe. And Oklahoma had no choice. They had to bench him and go somewhere else. 7 of 16 with a pick, the 2 awful fumbles. It was shocking how bad Jackson Arnold looked in this game. They really had no chance. Once it became clear that this is what they were going to get, they really had no shot right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 biggest starts of his young career against quality competition, he has 7 turnovers. Obviously, the 4 in the bowl game, but at least in that game, he was making some big throws and hitting downfield. He just hasn't been very accurate. Hasn't been making good decisions. Like you said, that interception was a head scratcher. He had Deion Burks over the middle, like a second and a half before making that throw to JJ Hester. And then the throw to Hester was underthrown in double coverage. And it's just
like an hour late.
Yeah.
That was over.
I don't know what the disconnect is for Arnold because the talent is there. Is his confidence shot because he's been playing behind a shaky offensive line. He's missing all of his top receivers, maybe, but still, like the decision making needs to be better. Losing the ball twice after the defense puts you in scoring position like that is just inexcusable, especially on the first play of each drive. It happens once, you're like, oh man, like that's a blown opportunity because you get the ball at the 5-yard line. But when it happens again, like to me, that's when you have to pull the plug. That's when you need to try to get a change. And I think they may have waited. They may have waited a little too long because he went out there, I think, for 2 more drives, and one of them was the safety, which after Hito Zaida, I believe it was, got a false start. They get backed up to their own 2-yard line, and then Javonte Barnes gets dropped in the end zone. And then they go 3 and out and lose 2 yards on the next drive before they decide to make the change. And at that point, it's like, come on. Because what was I going to say?
Michael Hawkins got it going a little bit, so I'm with you.
And that's what I want.
He had more time because you saw Michael Hawkins look more and more comfortable. So if they made the change earlier, who knows? But if they made the change earlier, like you're saying, and gave him more time to get settled in, it maybe makes a difference. Who knows? That's
what I wanted to point out, and I kind of said this when we were talking about it after the game, Josh. Like the way the offense is set up, the offensive line struggles and things like that. It may just be a fit situation. It may just be because you look at guys like Baker Mayfield when he went to the Panthers, right? He didn't look very good. Now he's with the Buccaneers and he looks awesome. Like it's just like the way the offense is set up, Michael Hawkins may be the best option for this team. Like I said, Jackson Arnold's not a bad quarterback whatsoever. It's just maybe with the difficulties that the offense has with him being out there, it's not the right fit for him. And that's what I think it is at this point in time because we've seen the talent. I mean, we talked about it all camp. He's a guy that has the arm talent, he has the arm strength. That's there. He can run the football when he needs to. That's there. But Michael Hawkins is just a little bit more quicker. And so change of direction is a really big deal when your offensive line is not there. You got a guy that can dodge those, defensive ends when they come by freely. I mean, and that's pretty much what it is because we saw it as well. Like once Hawkins got comfortable, he had his couple of drives in there. He started moving the ball. I mean, and it was like throws down the field, making good reads, and it just looked better. You can look at it with the eye test; it looked better than what it was doing with Jackson Arnold. I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, that's the way I see it at this point in time.
Yeah. So where I was going, I got my drives mixed up. It was after the first fumble, he came in, then they had the safety, then the 3 and out. And I think after that 3 and out is when you need to make that change because. Especially given the context, because that next drive is when they get the ball at the 33-yard line after the second strip sack.
Yeah, trace forward.
Yeah. If you put Michael Hawkins in on that drive in a advantageous opportunity, maybe you get his confidence going a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. Instead, you get the third turnover, and then he comes in shortly before the half, doesn't really get much of an opportunity because I think they got the ball back with like a minute and a half left or so before halftime. And then, takes over the second half. But I think maybe if they make that change, and obviously hindsight is 2020, and Brent Venables even said after the game that they considered it maybe one drive before. Mm-hmm. But if you get him in on that drive where they're on the 33-yard line, and it's still a 10-point game at that point, who knows what happens?
It's just a tough thing to do because you talk about a quarterback switch, right? It's the most important position on the field at all times. Making that switch is like it affects the entire team, like the culture, everything that some of those guys came just for Jackson Arnold, coming to Oklahoma. And so like when you make that switch, it's a serious deal. That's why I think he had such a long leash, even though what we've seen over the first 4 weeks of this season is like you got that guy. He has to figure it out, the type of situation. And so you have to really wait for it to get really bad. And maybe some guys are chirping on the sideline, like maybe we need to try the other guy for that to happen. And I think that's the issue for Oklahoma that happened on the weekend.
Yeah, and I do wonder with the Michael Hawkins of it all is because the wide receiver room is so wounded and got so many guys missing. He might just have a better rapport with some of these guys that he was taking reps with in the spring and at the start of fall camp.
I like that. Yes.
He might be more comfortable with him at this point and on the same page in terms of, how he likes to deliver a ball than a Jackson Arnold who, I know like guys like Zion Raggins has gotten a lot more first team reps last couple of weeks, but in fall camp and in the spring, like Michael Hawkins was the one throwing a lot of these guys.
Sure.
That's a good point that we missed. Yeah, that's a very good point because I talked about it a lot with timing being an issue with Jackson Arnold and this new receiver. So you bring in the guy that's been throwing to them all camp pretty much. It's a really good situation. So
yeah, it's like you guys said. I mean, I think Jackson is very talented, and I don't think he's still at the end of the day he's a true sophomore. I don't think his career is over or anything.
Yeah.
He had to make the move. It's just puzzling because the decision making is bad. Like we just talked about the interception. Brent Venables put it very bluntly on the backwards pass on the RPO. That's not even an option on that play to throw in the flat. Like you either got to eat it, throw it away, tuck it and run, hand it off. Anything but that basically is kind of how we put it. That was a disastrous play. One play after the turnover. The defense did everything they could to keep him in it. And just, like we talked about all year, the deep ball. There was 1 3rd and 10 early where they tried to take a shot for Brennan Thompson for some reason, and the throw wasn't even close. So it's just he just hasn't played well. I that's very basic analysis, but he just hasn't played well. Bad decisions, inaccurate, little dump off the Deion Burks in the second quarter, just like literally a bubble screen type play. Just missed him, just 5 yards wide, and he couldn't make the catch. I mean, it's hard to really figure it out because we know the talent is there. He played at the highest level of high school football in Texas. I'm not saying Tennessee is the equivalent of high school football in Texas, but he was the Gatorade National Player of the Year in high school football. He's the Elite 11 MVP. Like, he doesn't just stink.
He's used to the pressure is what you're trying to say. Like, he's used to
like
that type of situation.
I don't know. It's hard to figure out what the deal is, but they made the move. They had to make it. Michael Hawkins did some good things, right? I mean, he finished 11 of 18, 132 yards and a touchdown. He scrambled around some. Low to the shoulder, had the big flip into the end zone.
He had basically 2 touchdowns called down at the 6-inch line.
The flip was a tough because I didn't really think there was probably enough there to take that off the board. But what can you do?
We were watching that replay in the press box several times, and it was so weird because just where the ball was, it looks like it literally stopped short of the goal line and just went straight down as he flipped.
Yeah,
that's
so.
Weird.
He came in and did everything he could. I mean, he got more comfortable as it went. The first quarter of him being in there, the third quarter wasn't really any different, frankly. But the fourth quarter, he got his feet wet. He had a couple of really nice throws. The long one to Petaway was just a seed down the middle of the field. Best throw this year by your quarterback was right there. Clearly, he did the best he could. What did you guys think of what you saw from Hawkins? And if you want to broach the subject of if you think he should be the guy going into Auburn, feel free to do so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think, James made a good point earlier, and I agree with it, that with the state of this offense right now, with how the offensive line has played, I think having a guy like Michael Hawkins who, look, Jackson's a good runner. Michael Hawkins is a better athlete with his feet. He's shiftier. He can make some moves in the backfield there and, kind of evade some of that pressure a little bit better, I think, and make some things happen with his legs. Whereas Jackson, you can call some design runs for him, or you can, he can make a read on an RPO. And if it's not there, he can take off. Whereas Michael Hawkins feels like a true dual threat back there. Brent said that, sometimes he plays 3 or 4 steps ahead of the play just because, he's still new to this and still developing. Sure. But I like what he brings from an athleticism standpoint. I thought he managed the offense pretty well. Look, he led them on 2 scoring drives in the fourth quarter. Tennessee still had his starters in there.
They were blitzing a lot.
Yeah, they blitzed a whole lot. He handled the pressure pretty well. I think that you have to roll with him this week. Regardless of what how the fans would react if you trotted Jackson Arnold out there, I just don't know if it gives you your best opportunity to win this week. And look, a true freshman who's played 45 snaps in his career so far, going into an SEC road game for his first career start is not an ideal situation. But I think you have to give him the majority of the first team reps this week and prepare him for that opportunity. Because if you just draw it out until the end of the week and then let him know, I think you're doing him a disservice. I think this offense needs something to provide it a jolt. And I think right now Michael Hawkins might be able to do that on the road against this Auburn team.
Yeah. And honestly, I think at this point, Jackson Arnold may have the yips or, it's just not there at this point in time. Confidence is such a big deal in football and really much any sport. The way you play is going to be based on your confidence in yourself and your comfortability on the field. And I just don't think he's there right now. So putting in Hawkins in there and seeing how it goes against Auburn, OU has a chance to really save this season. It's not, like we said, it's not over. One loss does not end the season anymore. There's a lot of time left. So if you can get him in there and get comfortable, and he finds a way to bring you to these wins that you need, it's really good. It's really, really good going forward. You got a young guy running the offense now, and so it's just that's the way I see it. And I'll speak for for the glass half full fans too. Yes, Tennessee is number 5 in the country now. Like it wasn't like a crazy loss. OU was just playing one side of the football for 3.5 quarters. So like 25-15 is a pretty good outcome based on that. Like say Hawkins was there the whole game. What would it have looked like? I mean, I think Josh, you said that earlier. Like, what would it have looked like if he was the one running the show?
Yeah,
so
he could just even gotten the game earlier because it got better as it went.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's still an okay situation to be in. Like I said, it's a lot of season left. There's a lot of time to save this season, and maybe he may be the guy going forward. We saw it a lot in camp too. We were talking about. We always said Jackson Arnold. I'm like, but Michael Hawkins looked pretty good too. I know. We said it a couple of times throughout the 20-minute sessions that we got to see. So like, I mean, I think he should be the guy going forward, at least for the Auburn game, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and look, Auburn's defense is not as good as Tennessee's. It's going to be tough going on the road for either of these quarterbacks. Having been to Jordan-Hare Stadium and seen a lot of games played there, it is not an easy place to win, even though Auburn is 4-11 against Power 4 teams the last 4 years there. And look, I don't think Michael Hawkins is going to be this like magic cure-all for this offense. This offense has a lot of issues.
Right.
But I think it's telling that he was able to have some success running the same offense against the same defense that Jackson Arnold just could not do anything against last week. And I think you prepare him to be your starter this week, see how things go at Auburn, and then you have a bye week to kind of reassess everything going into Red River. Yeah. I think that is probably the best way to approach this, is like you have to find out what you have in Michael Hawkins before that second half of the season gets underway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you have to roll with Hawkins. I don't really know what choice you have. But like you said, Tom, I agree. It's not going to be just for all the reasons I said earlier, the offense is a mess in a lot of areas. And, if the season ended today, and it doesn't, there's, 2/3 of the regular season still to go. But if the season ended today, I think Oklahoma would have to make a lot of changes offensively. What that means, that's up to Brent Venables to figure out, but a lot. But they got the rest of the season to figure it out, because offensive line, for all the reasons we said, is rough. Receivers are all hurt, can't run the ball. I do think Hawkins gives you a better chance with his athleticism, and he just seemed to be more. Something needs to be said for just the fact that he was a true freshman, just thrown into that. And it's at home, but against that team, we really handled it pretty well. I think you have to. And then, like you said, Tom, you have a bye week after that to kind of reassess things. But I would imagine that if Hawkins goes in there and plays well, it might be his job the rest of the way. So stunning, wild. But they're going to be in all these games because the defense continues to play really well. We'll go to the positive side of the football.
They just need an average offense. They just need an average.
It's the opposite of 2018, where Oklahoma had the best offense we've ever seen and couldn't get a single stop. It's the exact opposite. The defense is incredible. The defense gave them every chance to win this game. We did the game preview. We talked about it. If the defense can give them some short fields, create some turnovers, put Nico on the ground, yada, 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 they should have a chance to win this game. They did all that. The defense completely, held up their end of the bargain here. Gave them a short field at the 5 to tie the game before Arnold fumbled it the first time. Another big turnover when he threw the backwards pass. They were on the field the whole game, it felt like, and they just kept getting stop after stop. Had a couple of guys just get flat beat by really good, talent on the outside, and then Nico having a cannon. It's going to happen. You play enough snaps against that good offense, you're just going to get beat. But for the most part, the defense was really, really good, kept them in it. And I think long-term, you have to still be encouraged by Oklahoma's ability to still win a lot of games, because this defense, again, is going to give you a chance to win a lot of games because you're going to be in. And that's the main reason I feel good about them going into Auburn. We'll have the game preview later this week, is that I don't know how Auburn's going to score any points, because this defense is getting the job done right now.
Auburn's offense isn't good either.
Auburn leads the nation in turnover margin at -10. Or
seems like a good matchup.
Like the other way.
At the bottom. Yeah,
the bottom.
Whereas Oklahoma's near the top, Auburn's down near the bottom right now.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that more on later this week. But yeah, I mean the defense did kind of what we expected. Tennessee came out, they ran tempo a couple times, but Oklahoma really made them kind of downshift. And I think once Tennessee realized like how bad Oklahoma's offense was, they were perfectly content just playing a game, a game control.
Yeah, I agree.
They ran the ball 52 times, which in non-blowouts is easily the most that a Josh Heupel team has run the ball at Tennessee. They did not pass the ball that much. They had a couple explosive plays in the passing game. Obviously, that 66-yard touchdown,
right,
looms large. But really, outside of 2 drives, this Oklahoma defense was great. You gave up the 2-play 75-yard touchdown drive at the end of the first quarter, just not ideal. But I mean, Tennessee's going to do that to everybody. Like that is going to happen at some point in every game this season. And then the other one is an 8-play, 49-yard drive, I think it was, 43, 47, whatever it was, after the backwards pass by Jackson Arnold, where Tennessee just ran the ball 8 straight times down the middle of Oklahoma's defense. And I know it's a tough situation for Oklahoma because the defense is just on the field and they come off for 1 play and then they have to come back on. Like It is a tough situation to be in. So you fault them to an extent because it's still their job to go out there and put out the fire. But to hold this Tennessee offense to just 2 touchdowns and really 23 points because the safety, it was a really good effort. I mean, they held them to 4.7 yards per play, which, since Josh Heupel's been there, only 3 teams have done better than that. Texas A&M last year, and then Georgia twice when Georgia, had that number 1 team and, best defense in the country. So that kind of tells you where Oklahoma's defense is at this point in year 3 under Brent Venables. I was really impressed. They missed some opportunities. 15 missed tackles is not ideal, but they did a good job of getting pressure on Nico Iamaleava early on. Obviously forced those 2 turnovers, gave the offense a chance to compete in this game. And look, hats off to them because it can be very easy to get frustrated if you're a defense and you're playing that well and the offense just is not carrying their weight.
Giving you nothing.
Yeah. And look, I thought at some point in the second half, I was like, it just feels like the dam is eventually going to break for this defense. And they did not fold.
Yeah.
They kept getting stop after stop. They made Tennessee punt 8 times, 3 and outs. Tennessee had 2 punts all season coming into the game on like 39 possessions.
They had 2 punts like half a quarter in.
Yeah, so hats off to Oklahoma's defense. And like you said, I think they're going to keep them in a lot of these games. It's probably the best defense that Oklahoma's had since the last time Brent Venables was here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's in the post game, I was like, you looked really prepared on defense. Like, there wasn't a time where there was a guy just out of position on something. The 2 long passes were because a guy just got beat, out leveraged pretty much. Like he was on an island by himself, which is what the defense called for, and it just got beat on his assignment. That's pretty much it. And so they stopped one of them short. Somebody got ran down, right? Wasn't there a receiver got ran down on one of those? Somebody stopped them. But I mean, overall, the defense played really, really well. I mean, it can't say too much about them because it's like we've been saying it over and over again for the past couple of weeks. Like this defense is elite, and we got to see that. Like we know for sure. Like okay, yes, this defense is good because that's the top offense. Holding them to that standard is really good. So, I mean, can't say too much about this defense. We know where they're at. And Tom, I want to ask you something. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know Josh Heupel talked about it. That second half, his play calling in the second half. What went into that? Like, was he slowing down on the offensive side, or what happened there?
Yeah, well, they were down. They were already down. Their starting left tackle and Lance Hurd. Then their starting right tackle went down pretty early in the game. So, they understood how good Oklahoma's defense is, and look, this is a credit to Josh Heupel and his offensive coordinator to understand that to put trust in their own defense and just slow things down, make Oklahoma beat you. Like once you get that 2-score lead, it's like you don't need to go tempo every time,
right?
And look, Oklahoma did a good job of making them slow it down some. I think Tennessee averaged 29 seconds between snaps, which is a lot slower than this offense usually runs. But yeah, I mean, they knew what they needed to do to win. And they adjusted accordingly, but Oklahoma also made them adjust. It's not like Tennessee just took their foot off the gas completely, because this was a close game for the most part, even when it felt like Tennessee went up 3 scores. you wondered if Oklahoma was going to get any sort of spark offensively, but it never felt like this was going to be a blowout because Oklahoma's defense was playing well enough to kind of keep them in it and give them some sort of chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good because I've been seeing some comments on social media and things like that, and I'm thinking in my head like, was Josh Heupel playing Adam Sandler's The Water Boy in the Bourbon Bowl, like take a knee and just let the defense try to beat you, the offense try to beat you, like couldn't have been that. So it's good insight.
Put in a just a horrible spot over and over and over, and they constantly. I mean, first drive of the game, they went for it on fourth down. Around midfield. Don't know why they did that, by the way.
I don't
decision.
That's not. It's momentum.
I didn't like it. Pin him deep with Elzinga, get the crowd. I didn't like it. And then I was surprised that Tennessee didn't go for it the other way.
Yeah, that's a spot where Tennessee usually does go for it on that side.
I was like, I don't know what's going on. That was back to back right out of the gate. That surprised me. But they just kept answering the bell. I mean, after the turnovers, after that fourth down stop, like Tennessee got the ball in great field position over and over and over, and they pretty much answer the call every time. You got beat a couple times, but I mean, all things considered, with the lack of time possession, not getting anything from your offense, the poor field position game, you can't really have asked for anything more from what they did defensively. Mm-hmm. Robert Spears-Jennings was awesome. He was just a machine in this game. He was everywhere. Laying the wood, big hits, had the huge strip sack that should have been, a giant play in the game. Ended up not really being as much of one because of what happened the very next snap, but a massive play. He was phenomenal. He's been really good all season. That safety room, he's been the best of the bunch. I mean, not to take anything away from Billy Bowman or Peyton Bowen. Those guys have been great too, but RSJ's been phenomenal. And he was, again, on Saturday. That was his best game in OU uniform. Lewis Carter was awesome. He needs to play more. He was really good. Trace Ford, arguably his best game in an OU uniform.
He had to play a little bit of cheetah after Kendall Dolby went down.
Kendall Dolby, really unfortunate injury.
That
was gruesome.
Yeah, you hate to see that happen. And Kendall's been one of their best players.
Yeah, he's been great.
This point of the season. That's going to be a real tough hole to fill. You're going to need Samuel Masigo to grow up real quick, and I think Samuel Masigo is a really good player, but he's not where Kendall Dolby is at this point. I'm sure we'll see more Woody Washington in there. They got options. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's a very versatile piece. It's just a matter of who can you plug in there, and hey, looks like Deshaun McCullough might be back soon.
He was in pads.
He wasn't in cleats, but he was kind of going through warm-ups, so like maybe that's a promising sign on his recovery process, because we haven't seen him yet this season. But that is a big loss for this defense right now.
Eli Bowen being a young dog, by the way, at corner also really helps.
He's on like sling rat, man.
That family's being good to OU right now, because when he's gotten an opportunity, I've really liked what I've seen from him too. That gives you more flexibility to move Woody around. Don't know where Gentry Williams is, obviously long term, so that's huge as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys said it. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it is at this point in time. I mean,
it's
too much.
It's a shame that the offense is as bad as it is, because this defense feels like it is a playoff caliber defense, while the offense is at or near the bottom of the SEC and FBS in many categories right now.
I can't remember who said it. It might have been Joel Klatt. I can't remember. Hopefully that's correct. But it was like, if OU had this defense from 2015 to 20, we'll say, they would have won 5 national titles. Yeah. It's amazing. The offense is completely inept, though, and they got to figure it out. And it says on Seth Luttrell to figure it out, because, again, you guys both kind of mentioned earlier, I don't feel like I know what they're trying to accomplish a lot of the time. Like, what is the plan? What are we trying to do here? So we'll see if it looks different with Michael Hawkins this weekend.
Presumably.
Yeah, that's the case. We'll see.
Presumably.
I mean, Brent Venables said it was a quarterback battle going forward. So.
I sort of left that post-game press conference with the impression that Brent Venables had already moved on mentally.
Yeah, because it's like, what is he supposed to say at that point in time? He can't just give up on a public.
He was pretty critical of Arnold, though.
He was very critical of Arnold, but like, you kind of have to say that it's a competition at that point. Like, you can't just like throw him under the bus right then and there. But I would be flabbergasted if Michael Hawkins is not the starting quarterback this week at Auburn.
Yeah, I think you have to. As far as other things, I mean, the crowd was awesome. It was the best OU home crowd in a long time, best I'd ever been at. It was rocking in there, and they largely stayed to the end, and we're still loud and still into it, even with the. It was clear, like
5 minutes left.
Yeah, it kind of started empty out a little bit toward the end, but they were there for a long time and were fantastic. So shout out to OU fans. It was really cool to have that big of a game in Norman. You could just feel it all weekend. I pulled into the garage on Jenkins. It was like there was just tents all the way down, like almost to Lloyd Noble. Like it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And hopefully we get more of that later this year, like when Alabama comes to town and things like that.
Yeah. Luke Elzinga was great again.
Who was that? Oh, Elzinga.
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, we
49 yards. Had a 64-yarder. Pinned him inside the 10 a couple times. Like he's been lights out, and like you don't want to have to use him as much as they've had to.
A lot, yeah.
But when you have to call him that much, you're glad that he's been as reliable as he has been.
I'm actually disappointed that we only got to talk to him one time, because it was like this is probably the only time he's going to talk this season. Like
because he has like class Monday nights after.
He's a great person to talk to. He's very fun. He talked about Jackson Arnold's pooch punch. I think you asked him that time about that.
Yeah, so that storyline may have died with a thud because I'm anymore.
Also, the Josh Heupel of it all from this week.
Yeah,
cool for them to see them kind of honor him a little. Cool. Not too close to kickoff, but while Tennessee was out there for like pregame warmups, they had a graphic on the video board.
I didn't even see it.
The PA introduced him, and Josh acknowledged he just tapped his heart a couple times, and like you can tell after the game. I don't know I'm sure you guys saw the video that Tennessee posted of him addressing the team after the game, just like how choked up he was getting, like how much Oklahoma and Norman and the people in that town and his old teammates and coaches just mean to him. He was getting very choked up, and he said it all week. He didn't want this week to be about him, but it was clearly meant a lot to him to be able to come back to Norman and win that game.
Yeah, and he had recently lost his mom too, which puts another layer of as if the emotion isn't high enough, going to that. Really cool for him though, and I'm sure no OU, Brent Venables said it post game. He put it perfectly. Not happy for him, because he would rather be the other way, but at the same time, you have to kind of acknowledge. Pretty cool. Tennessee's gonna be really good. They're gonna be tough to beat all year. I left pretty impressed with Nico. Not that he played amazing, but he didn't make the big. I guess he got strip sacked twice. I guess, but
part of that's just great plays by Trace.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty darn good though, and a couple of those throws were just
those were NFL throws.
Beautiful NFL throws. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this one, and also kind of to spin ahead in terms of, like we said a couple times, season's not over. The schedule is brutal. We talked about it a bunch of times. This is a huge week, obviously. Auburn has not gotten off to a great start, but you have to go on the road for the first time. You got to win this week. Well,
must win
later, but just I guess kind of final thoughts here and a little temperature check as far as can it be turned around? With Michael Hawkins, this defense is awesome. How salvageable is the offense? Kind of give a final thoughts and kind of wrap it all up for you. Where you're kind of at as we move forward now.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think Michael Hawkins is going to be a magic potion cure for this offense, but I think it can make it a little bit better. They don't need this offense to be world beaters.
No, they do not.
Because the defense is. They just need the offense to be better than
average.
Better than middling. You got to do something. They've been anemic through these first 4 games. It's been bad. We'll see. The good thing for Oklahoma is that, like you said, Auburn's gotten off to a bad start of its own. They're 2-2. They just lost to Arkansas. They've got their own quarterback issues. Peyton Thorne got benched after 2 games. Then Hank Brown, a redshirt freshman, started the last 2, but he got benched at halftime against Arkansas after he threw 3 interceptions in the first half. They brought Peyton Thorne back in. He threw an interception, but he led a touchdown drive. They got an open competition this week, so we'll see what happens. But it'll be interesting, man. Like I think Oklahoma's defense, like I said, is good enough to keep them in these games, and will certainly be good enough to keep them in a game against a team that has its own quarterback conundrum. But they need to figure some stuff out. They need to get to this bye week, hopefully with 1 loss for them, and kind of regroup. Hope they can get some guys back healthy.
Bye week.
That second half of the season is rough.
Yeah.
You still got number 1 Texas. You still got what's Alabama, third now or no, fourth?
4, I think.
You still got Missouri. You still got LSU. I mean, it is a tough road ahead.
I mean, my final thoughts, I'm glad that Michael Hawkins got in there in the second half and we got to see some type of flash of something, because if not, there really wouldn't be. I think some Sooner fans are okay right now because of what he did. Like, they feel optimistic about what could be. But like, if we hadn't seen that, it would be a very worrisome time, I think, in Norman trying to figure that out. Because like at this point, it is what it is. Because there's so many guys out, so many guys injured. It's just you're going to be playing one side of the football. So I think getting to see Michael Hawkins changed a lot going forward for what people think about this team. And because if not, I don't think they'd be ranked. I don't think they would be number 21 if they didn't have that spark at the end. Like, I really do think they look that bad for the time being. So just want to see what happens with Hawkins in there. I mean, if he gets the shot, see what he does against Auburn, as you guys said, because this is a must-win game for OU, because you get that bye week. Maybe some more guys get healthy. We don't know where Nick Anderson is in terms of injury, but he's probably more hurt than we thought because he hurt it so quickly coming back. Like, it's just not really sure. So we'll see what happens. You know, the offensive line, maybe they get to be cemented now. Maybe they get to play in their one position and stay there and work on their communication and things like that. So, I mean, there's some things here. So we'll see what happens.
I'm really worried about the wide receivers. That's my biggest concern right now. Like you said, Nick Anderson played 7 snaps and went back out. We still didn't see Angelo Anthony. I don't know where he is. Deion Burks got hurt. So, yeah, that's my biggest concern right now. But the way I kind of see it, I mean, you have 3 games the rest of the way that right now you just can't feel good about, which is Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Not that they couldn't win those games, but you can't feel good about them right now. The other ones, I think you still have to feel confident if you're Oklahoma. All the rest of them, I know you got to go to Death Valley, LSU. You know, their defense. I don't know. Auburn this week we just talked about. I think Missouri is gettable. They've had close call after close call against bad teams. Almost lost to Vanderbilt this week. You know, so you know there's still a lot of meat on the bone here. We'll see. We're going to learn a lot this week. You know, after this week against Auburn, I think we'll have a very good idea if this season is still a 8, 9, 10 win conversation or a just make a bowl conversation. That'll be decided this week.
Yeah, can't have any more quarters of minus 20 yards of offense.
That's crazy.
It was really bad.
That might have been the worst quarter of football offensively from one team that I've ever seen.
Hard to watch. There, you know, the question was posed, and it's a fun question, but not. It's an awful question, but fun at the same time. Is this offense worse than Oklahoma's defense in 2018?
Yes,
it is.
Yes, it is.
I was going to ask, would you rather have a number 1 offense with a bottom tier defense, or would you rather have a top defense with a middle offense?
You rather have the offense, because not only it makes an exciting game for fans to watch, you know, and a lot of the national media can see that as well, but you can also be in any type of game. Like, you always have a chance to score, and you just have to hope for your defense to just accidentally getting a turnover once in a while.
I don't know. I feel like we've seen teams win big with a really good defense and just kind of like get through it offense.
No.
Whereas
if it's average, like I'm saying, if it's an average offense, then yeah, sure, let's have the defense. But if it's going to be one of the worst in the nation, you'd rather have the offense.
Score points. Right? It's hard to win when you can't score points.
How many games did Iowa win last year?
Yeah, Iowa hasn't done it.
That's true. They won like 10 games, didn't they?
Yeah. I personally would rather have a top 15 defense and a bottom 15 offense, because I think the defense is going to keep you in any game, whereas otherwise you feel like your offense has to score every possession of your defense. Defense can't get a stop.
But the case study,
but it's an interesting conversation.
The case study is Iowa and Oklahoma. I mean, we saw it. Oklahoma got to the playoffs doing that. Iowa did not.
Sure.
That's why I say that. And just the way college football is set up, maybe.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, it's true. And they're both sides. I think of like the Alabama Orange Bowl where, offense got up to a little bit of a slow start, God forbid, and it was 28-0. It was over. Nothing you could do. So I don't know. It's crazy that it's been said to death, but we're just 5-6 years later. It's just the exact opposite situation. It's unbelievable. But we'll see. We'll see. I think that's it for now. Lots more. I mean, there's a ton of reaction to this game on the YouTube channel and on the website as well, Oklahoma247sports.com. We're turning the page, though. We're going to get you ready for Auburn. That's coming up later this week. Brent Venables press conference tomorrow, Tuesday. Player interviews tonight. That'll be interesting to get to hear from some of these other guys, just kind of how things feel right now going into this first road trip. Lots of coverage all week long. Be sure to tune in for all of it. We'll be back on Thursday with Colin and James. Myself will hit on some recruiting news on the game preview on Friday morning. So be sure to tune into all of that. And we'll catch you guys back here next time. For Tom Green, James E. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway. That's it for now. We'll see you next time here on the Sooners Illustrated podcast.
See you.